Following is the conversation with Dmitry Petrov. Dmitry is the co-founder and CEO of Iterative, which is an organization that builds open platforms to operationalize AI systems. And some of their tools include DVC, which is Data Version Control Studio for data discovery, team collaboration, and other tool is CML, which is short for continuous machine learning, which is used for model testing, training ML models in clouds, generating reports, ML environment versioning. And DVC is data version control, which is data versioning and used for ML experiments and model versioning as well. So Dimitri previously worked as a data scientist at Microsoft, and he has a lot to share about how the data science space has evolved in the past couple of years, how teams have evolved, how processes have evolved, and we talked about all of these common challenges these organizations face during scaling, or how to set up processes to in order to optimize team collaboration across teams as well as within the team. And he also talked about what he looks for in a data scientist when he's hiring for his organization here, and also what should be done in order to bridge the gap between learning and actually implementing and gaining practical skills. So without any further ado, let's head straight over to the conversation.
Hello, everyone, and hi, Dmitry. First of all, and thanks for doing this. I'm really excited to have you here and discuss about the whole machine learning ecosystem that we have around the world. And I would like to start the conversation by understanding, how do you think the whole data science or the artificial intelligence space has evolved in the past couple of years?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, first of all, happy to be here and talk about this machine learning and the tools and the process itself. How machine learning evolves? There are many components of this, right? First of all, 10 years ago, about like 10 years ago, it finally start working and giving value for the industry, not only for like folks from academia, right? It was a huge change with in the last maybe like 10 years, maybe a little bit more. And how it evolves, how it evolved during the past years. I think 5 years ago, the biggest question, and maybe like 3 years ago even, the biggest question was how to build models.
Yeah.
How to build models, how to build the first model, how to find a data scientist, how to evaluate those folks. So all those questions were super important, and everyone was busy by solving those questions because no one kind of knew for sure how those problems need to be solved and who should be solving these problems. Only like small subset of like large companies knew, right? So I was working at Microsoft Bing, and we had some approach, if you wish, how to select people, those kind of people, how to work on those problems. But most of the companies didn't have this expertise and skills. So this was the biggest question. Today, I think the industry finally learned how to do that. Today, we know very well how to build models. Today, we know more or less how to hire proper skill, how to find people with a proper skill set.
Yeah.
So this problem, I would say, more or less solved
Okay.
on the industry level. Today, the question is how to be more efficient as a team.
Yeah.
How we can build model faster, how we can build model in a more predictable way in terms of like process, right? We don't want to allocate like 3 weeks for build model, right, and spend 3 months, right?
Yeah.
As an industry, we don't want to be in this situation. And how to make many people how to make multiple people work, many people work
Together.
on this model and be efficient,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So all those like kind of organizational problem that we are having today.
Yeah. So
And
one of the challenges is that you're talking about is, collaborating across teams has been like a very big challenge. Coming in from, so as you said, you don't want to be spending 3 months for a model that had to be done within 3 weeks. So do you think that's because of the prioritization issue, that, what the business problem is and what the team is actually doing? There's kind of like a gap that these teams have to bridge, which we are trying to solve still.
oh, there are different set of problems. So
Mhm.
between departments, actually a good question. I think we
Yeah.
haven't reached this level
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
I expect this will be the next level. Today, I'm talking about like within a team.
Okay.
When we got the data, how we can build this model, a model in a predictable way. How we can do this quickly. How we can work, three of us or two of us can work on the same model. I think we are on this
Yeah.
level when we are
Uh,
solving these basic collaboration equations.
so basically, what we have solved for the software systems, the software development life cycle, and we're trying to get to that stage where we can say that, yeah, we have actually cracked how the machine learning, development life cycle should work out, and we're still in the process of figuring out the right process and the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
system.
yeah, exactly. And this is very natural requirement from the business, right?
Yeah.
When you build your first model,
Uh-huh.
ML model, and put this model in some type of production, whatever it means in different businesses, it have a
Hmm.
different meaning. But now your business depends on this model, right?
Yeah.
And now you have all these like challenges. What if something goes wrong? How to fix those kind of problems? What if I need a second model like quickly? What if some accident will happen? So those types of problems now business have, and and those problems is about like how to collaborate, and how to be efficient as a team, not an individual person.
Hmm. Nice. And I think you have such a wide experience, like from a PhD to Microsoft data scientist, and then creating DVC, and then setting up this whole organization, Iterative. So I want to know the story here. Like, how did you end up creating DVC?
Uh, at Microsoft, I have seen how they organize the
Yeah,
processes.
yeah.
So at Microsoft, I have seen some uh, AI platform, if you wish. We
Hmm.
didn't use
Hmm.
this term, but in fact, it probably was an AI platform,
Hmm.
which kind of helps team to be productive, right?
Yeah.
Individuals, of course, but also
Okay.
teams, which might be
Okay.
even more important for the organization, for an organization. And what I found, it's ML is very different from software engineering, because before I didn't thought about this. I was sure that it's more or less the same thing, but I found no, it's not. The processes are very different. The tools are very different, and this those tool set needs to be reinvented. And I start thinking how this tool set should look like. I see how it looks like now. I mean, like now, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I see how it looks now, but should we work on the same tools, on the same type of tools and processes in a 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years? And my answer was not. The tool needs to be improved. We can get value from this kind of AI platform, but the way how they the way that it's supposed to be. In the future, we don't need like a monolithical platform. We need like a set of tool for some particular problem, which you can kind of ecosystem of the tool instead of like one tool. This was my
Uh,
first assumption behind the tool set of the future, if you wish.
okay.
And the second assumption was a good part of those tools needs to be open sourced. I don't believe that
Uh-huh.
like one AI platform can be like adopted by the entire industry. And an adoption is a key here. If you we need to adopt like one single tool set, not tool. this important, right? But one single tool set or ecosystem of the tool, just to be able to communicate these models, best practices, skills around the industry, right? Between the team, between the companies. And this was starting point from DVC. I start thinking about this tool set, about ecosystem of the tool. I start playing with different problems, like how to allocate resources from cloud, how to track my metrics and move them around from like cloud to my machine.
Okay.
And I found until I solve data transferring problem, data versioning problem, I cannot solve those problems. So this is how DVC was born.
So basically, you ended up shortlisting what you have to first do by exploring, like, different things, and then getting to develop this tool. Like, are there like any other areas where you think people need such tools? Like, during this process of exploration, did you find out some other, opportunities for building different tools besides DVC?
Okay, I'm quite a focus on data processes and
Uh-huh.
machine learning, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean only ML training.
Okay.
It includes also how to collect data, how to manage data, right? From
Uh-huh.
one side. And another side, it's how to deploy your model.
Yes.
It can be like online deployment. It can be batch processing and ETL
Yeah.
tools, right?
Yeah.
So you cannot think about like only about like training process, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
live in kind of alone, right? It's
Yes.
in environment.
Yeah.
And with this kind of picture in mind, we try to make DVC like as open as possible in terms of like source code, all the protocols, how to get data, how to manage data, how to provide models to the next steps to
Mm-hmm.
deployment for other tools. And yeah, so that's important. That's important to kind of be not just like a solve this particular problem, but also be connected to the other parts of the world. I mean, data world. I'm not thinking about the outside of this world, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think, and the failure rate of machine learning based systems or organizations who are trying to do or incorporate machine learning, the failure rate is very high. And I understand that it is still somewhat new to incorporate ML to your products and platforms, at least for the small scale organization. But what do you think is the reason for this high failure rate? Like, what are the common pitfalls that these organizations are struggling with?
Uh, Many actually issues in the process, and different organizations have a different,
Yeah.
I would say, level of maturity of the process and different type of issues, right?
So
In the process.
So would you say, like, in part it is due to the nascency of this whole system? Like, machine learning systems are still very new to these organizations, and they're still in the process of finding out the right track or the right process for themselves.
I think it's not only about tools. It's about methodology, if you wish. It's about the process itself, and
Yeah.
tools they just support the process and methodology, right? Tools kind of play the I don't know, second role in this process, not the major role. First, you need to
Hmm.
understand that this you need that, and the second question is like, what tool can help me, right?
Hmm. Can
And
you?
go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and different companies are in different level of the understanding of their needs. For some companies, they, for example, they're okay to have like ML modeling process as a one block box when
Yeah.
they put like data set to data scientist and she brings a model in 3 weeks and they're kind of okay with this process. Some other company are saying, no, we are not fine with this. We need to a bit more transparency, like what happens inside, how we can put like second person to help her, how can we improve this process, how we can reuse some part of your work, part of your scripts, data processing or data modeling script in other project, because I don't know, we might have like 10 data product all related to like binary classification, for example. Like I have seen in a bank, right? In a bank, like 80% of the model, like binary classification.
Yeah. Fintech, fraud
yeah, fintech,
analytics and all.
it's not a bank. Yeah, it's about fintech in general, right?
Yeah.
And some companies didn't pay enough attention to improve these processes. They think it's okay. The other companies are thinking about this, right? How to improve, how to be more systematic about the development phase. Then for some companies, it's important to have a proper data versioning, right? Data management. They need to know how data evolves, and they need to have like provenance between data models. They need to know, well, this model was built with this version of data, and we know if we update data sets, so something hopefully good will happen with the model, right? They need to understand this these parts, right? The next level is automation. So if we know how to build model, if we know how to manage data, why don't we do this automatically in some cases? It's in some like easy, predictable cases, right? How to rebuild model automatically if I just want to change a couple hyperparameters? How can I rebuild a model with a new version of data set, right? You don't need to be like data scientist, like even like managers can do this.
Yeah. So I think it solves the very important problem of reproducibility. You are working on, let's say, on one night you are working on your own model with some different parameters, the different configuration, different data set, different version of the data set, and then when you send your final model to the ops team or the DevOps engineers, and they're not able to reproduce the same model, and things are going haywire there. I think this kind of solves this problem. Yeah.
You see, reproducibility just plays only one role on those kind of levels of maturity, right? At some level, you don't need reproducibility. You can improve your process without reproducibility. Then you get reproducibility. It opens your doors to automation. Right? So it's kind of like a maturity of your process, and the question is like how far you need to be on this process. And
Makes
for
sense.
some companies, it's very important. For others, they might not pay too much attention. Maybe they don't need. So I'm not saying like every company needs this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, so can you like walk us through one of your failures as a team at Microsoft, or maybe at while creating DVC, that you didn't see coming, and that you found out and explored on your way?
Oh, of course. There are a lot of like silly mistakes that people do. For example, when I work for some small company, one time some model was just removed, and people just were not able to find it, and the team spent some time to get the model back. Right.
Model removed as in like the H5,
just file was removed, and then the entire team was busy by like first of all look into this model, and then say, all right, let's waste another like couple days to rebuild it, right? So as simple as this. And if your workflow, your process is not it's not set up in the right way,
it should be solid, secure.
You might have like this kind of trouble. And
that's
they
very
actually
silly.
This is a simple example, right? But how about missing opportunities? Because this, you kind of made a mistake, and you paid by like a two days of working and 2 days of like your system, which was serving with old model, for example. It's one, right? But even more important to know like how much I'm losing without a good processes, right? It's really hard to evaluate, but in some it's straightforward. For example, when I mentioned, right, this financial industry, right, with 80% of model which are binary classifier, and in many companies they do these models over and over again from scratch. not from scratch. They like copy paste like Jupyter notebooks or like just script, right? And then start iterate and build new models. But when you can create like a proper structure of your models, when you can create like a proper pipeline of you building your models, your next model won't be like 1,000 or 3,000 lines of like Jupyter notebooks code. It will be like a one simple change in one simple place, which is related to new data sets and new set of rules for new models, right? So you can first localize problem way quicker. You can build your model way quicker, and it will simplify the other processes. For example, usually in financial industry, there is like a big team of risks who can like evaluate the models and say if the model is good enough to go to production, right?
Yeah.
And also it helps not only you to build model, it helps them to evaluate your model. So you can go quickly through this like a risk process, risk evaluation process, right? It helps the entire organization to go from weeks of development plus weeks of validation to days of development and days of validation, if not hours, right? This is like amount of missing opportunities many teams have today. And it's even more important than just like, I lost some data or I need to retrain it back. No, you just don't want to waste too much time on development in the first place.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely a gap there in the feedback loop. But yeah, so are you aware of any startup that is actually doing a good job at scaling their ML operations? Like a startup company, I'm sure like YouTube or Netflix are doing a great job in setting up this whole, but they're big now. Are you aware of like any startup doing a good job? Like if you've been in touch or some famous names or maybe.
So are you talking about ML tools or who apply ML?
No, the organization who are trying to build such machine learning systems, maybe in fintech or in healthcare.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
talking about
of
startup
course.
names.
Yeah, of course. Some teams are very advanced, right? Some teams are very
Yeah.
advanced, and today's tool set is kind of not well defined, right? And kind of like a bit fragmented. And
Yeah.
many teams has their own tool set. The biggest name probably it's like a Tesla self-driving car. You can watch like a lot of videos from them.
Oh yeah.
Like what they do about like labeling, how they treat models, how they ensemble the models. A lot of ideas you can get it from them. Many big companies like from self-driving is like maybe Lyft. You can find some
Yeah.
materials from them.
But yeah, I'm saying that these are like big companies. Are they like small startups who are on a budget and they are doing a good job? If you're aware of any like small scale company. One, so basically, I don't know if DeepMind or organizations like, those are small, but yeah, I think they are also doing a very great, an awesome job in
Yeah.
implementing the
I
system.
don't know about DeepMind, unfortunately. When it comes down to small companies, in a small company, it's actually relatively simple to organize this process, right?
Yeah.
And some companies are very advanced on this, on how they label data, how they preserve the labels, how they manage the labels, how they do training, how they share result. Some small company do not care about sharing result because there is like
Yeah.
literally like one guy who does modeling.
Yeah.
and
So
and
it's
and it will be like overkill for him to use kind of advanced collaboration tool. It might be at least. So in small
so
company, yeah, it's there
okay.
are good amount of small companies who are that are doing pretty good job here.
And then do you have a take on the technical stack these companies that are using to set up their data and ML pipelines? Or if you can give like any KPIs on finding the suitable cloud service provider or something like that.
Technical stack, it depends like what part of technical stack are you talking about. From the modeling point of view, it in vast majority of the cases, of course, it's Python, right?
Yeah.
In a good portion of cases, it's a deep learning. However, some companies are working with structured data and using like a regular uh, random forest-based models, right? From technology point of view, usually, I mean, technology like infrastructure point of view.
Yeah.
Of course, I like the best the companies who use DVC and automation on top of DVC. But my opinion might be like kind of a little bit biased, you know.
Yeah. But I'm
So,
sure, I
but
mean, I've seen, yeah, the EC is definitely, I was just like fiddling around, and I could see that how easy it has been to, version your data sets and then go on to implement it with CML. So I was working on that example of implementing both together. And
mhm.
yeah, I think we've come on like very far, and still like there's a long way to go, but I think this is like pretty good that we've been able to do this very in just with a few lines of code.
Yeah, exactly. And many companies are doing automation by their own, right? By custom
Yeah.
tools, by scripts, with a cloud, usually with a cloud or maybe some other tools. So what we do with DVC, we just help them.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
help them to build their proper tool set.
Nice, man. Nice. And how do things change with respect to scale? Going from a startup, maybe a very small company, and then building something like Microsoft or a Tesla self-drive or something like that. So how do things
Mhm.
change when you are trying to like scale, or when you're trying to hire more people into your data science teams and your engineers? So yeah, you
Right.
must have
So
witnessed this at Microsoft, I think.
right in a large scale, my belief is company just cannot survive with the right methodology and automation.
Hmm.
It just doesn't work without a good support. Everything will fails apart. Most of the companies in this space, they started this automation by custom tools like years ago, sometimes dozens of years ago. Right, if you're talking about
Yeah,
like Google,
yeah,
Microsoft,
yeah,
of course
yeah,
they
yeah,
have all the automation from like 15 years ago, or maybe even more,
yeah.
right? And this tool set is improving all the time. It's They have like own tool set. I have seen large companies without a decent automation,
Hmm.
and which kind of put them in a bit dangerous zone when uh, some part can some fails may affect business quite a lot.
Hmm.
But I believe they do understand the risks and they do work on methodology and the automation. It's important to know, like, not only like automation, not only to have automation, right? It's important
Yeah,
that every team members know how to do the job, how to follow the
yeah.
process, what to do if something goes wrong.
Hmm.
Automation just helps you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot. So yeah, I think it's also about like figuring out if the impact, if you're able to find out like what the actual impact is going to be and what the cost of those automations would be. And yeah, and I think the big companies should actually uh, realize that, yeah, what the cost would be of their predictions and their automation systems, as there are a lot of debate around, that we are the black box nature of these models, and nobody actually knows like what the model is actually doing. And yeah.
Yep,
So
exactly.
one last question would be like, with regards to learning data science, do you think like there's a gap between learning machine learning and then what is actually required in building ML systems? And like
Mhm.
what would you want to add in order to bridge this gap?
Um, uh, Good question, and I think it applies for any types of job. When you
Yeah.
look at some job, like when someone is like fireman, right? You see like
Hmm.
the job, like he's a hero, he's like doing his job, but this is only like fancy part of the job, right? In
Hmm.
machine learning, it's the same. There is a fancy part related to the modeling, model tuning, choosing like right architecture, right algorithm, the fancy part, right? And there is an
Hmm.
actual part which is related to data preparation, data cleaning. It's related to automation and infrastructure. It's related on communication in a team between team members and how to share knowledge. It's related to coding, like a lot of different parts. And people who go to this industry, they should to go to this direction, right? Who'd like to become ML engineers or researchers, they need to keep this in mind.
And
Modeling is going to
what do
go
you
fast.
look for in an ML engineer or a data scientist when you are hiring? That's then.
Yeah, I'm a bit biased. I usually pay quite a lot of attention to coding.
Okay.
Yeah, why? Because to my mind, coding is quite a hard skill to get. It's not something that you can just learn from book. It takes time to practice and polish the skills. I'm not saying I would not kind of don't use it without without knowing what you're doing, because in some roles I believe it's not a requirement and it's totally fine. But for usually I do pay attention to this.
Okay, so for you, basically programming, the candidate should know programming if they are applying for a data scientist or a machine learning engineer role.
Yeah, but again, it very depends on the role.
Okay, makes sense. Well, great. Thank you so much, Dmitry, for joining us today and for answering all of these questions. And yeah, I really had a nice time talking to you. And yeah, hopefully we'll meet again soon, be in touch. So
yeah,
great.
absolutely. Thank you for inviting.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.